Heart of Fire, Book 1. You Will Be in My Heart. Prologue, Lost in the Everfree. Equestria was in chaos as an army of changelings swooped down, attacking every pony in sight. Statues and buildings were falling apart from blasts of magic flying through the sky as ponies were running in the streets, screaming and panicking. A single changeling stood on a tower of the castle, watching her comrades as they flew in, taking the form of ponies to feed off their love as the ponies searched to protect those they loved. She did not understand why they had to fly in like this. They would have had an easier time feeding off every pony's love if they snuck in quietly. Though with every pony frightened, their love for each other was much stronger as they fought to defend those they loved. Another walked up to her and lowered his head in a respectful bow. "What?" she spat, causing the other to cringe. "We've captured the 6 mares who were sent to retrieve the elements of harmony," he said, keeping his head low. "And why have you not taken them to the Queen?" she asked sharply. "I'll see to it right away," he replied. "You should have told me you already did." She turned fully to face her inferior comrade. "Please forgive me, it shall not happen again," he pleaded as he let his head drop close to the ground, his muzzle nearly touching the floor. She stepped closer to him, her horn glowing a menacing green. A flash of green and the sound of crumbling stone filled the air. The other changeling dared to look up at his superior, who glared at him sharply. "See to it that you don't, because the next time will be your head," she ordered to the other changeling. Yes, my lady," he stammered. She turned back to watch the scene of her comrades flying around as ponies, while the other changeling ran off at top speed for his life. "Why must we attack like this?" she asked herself. Just then she felt a presence in her head, and the face of Queen Chrysalis appeared in the back of her mind. "Yes, my queen?" she said. "You know you need not call me that, my dear," the queen said in a rather gentle voice. "I prefer to maintain formality while we are amongst others, your highness," she stated. The queen smiled at the changeling, expecting her wishes. "How might I serve you, my queen?" "Come to me in the audience chamber. I wish for you to be with me at our moment of victory," the queen ordered. "I shall be there at once," the changeling said with a deep, perfectly practiced bow, and broke the magical connection with her queen before she took off from the tower towards the castle. Watching every pony running and screaming, she flew down toward the castle and landed on the balcony of the audience chamber. She saw a few of her comrade changelings flying around from a giant green chrysalis containing Princess Celestia within. Princess Cadence was stuck to the floor by some kind of green slime, and shining armor hypnotized in place by the queen's influence. The changeling saw the queen standing in front of the 2 princesses. The pink alicorn was shouting something to the queen, but the changeling ignored her. Then several changelings came in with 6 mares who threatened to stop them. She glared at the mares as they brought in by her fellow comrades before the queen. "You were saying?" Chrysalis said. The queen then told her subjects to go and feed, which they did eagerly. Then she walked to the balcony and watched the scene unfold. The changeling stood faithfully beside her queen, watching as her comrades flew around the capital, every pony running and screaming in fear. The changeling heard something from behind. She turned back to see that somehow Cadence had broken free from her bonds and was now standing by shining armor, their horns glowing as their hair flowed like the wind was blowing around them. "My queen!" she called, but it was too late. By the time Chrysalis looked back, a powerful magical shield was created from the 2 lovers and stretched out around Canterlot, sending the queen and all her subjects flying in the air from the capital. The changeling tried to regain herself, but the blast had caught her by surprise, and most of her strength was drained from it. She flew uncontrollably through the air until she flew through some leaves and crashed into a tree and fell to the ground. The crash caused the air to be knocked out of her. She struggled to her hooves, bruised and gasping to regain her breath. When she finally got to her hooves, she reached out with her drained magic to the queen. "Your Highness, are you there?" she called. "I live, my child," the voice answered as an image of the queen's face filled her mind. Chrysalis looked drained and a little bruised, but nothing serious like her own. "Where are you?" the changeling asked. "I'm within the Everfree Forest, as are a number of my subjects." Before the changeling could ask her next question, the queen spoke. "Find your way to the small town of Ponyville at the edge of the forest back toward the direction of Canterlot." "Yes, my queen." She broke the connection and flew off back toward the direction of Canterlot where she would find Ponyville. Flying around the trees, avoiding the thick vines and hiding from the bigger forest animals to avoid using her energy. She came to a clearing where she found the queen and a number of other changelings gathering together while some others came in from the trees. She sat down next to the queen, who smiled down at her. The changeling could tell that the smile was both sincere and fake to try and hide the fury that was boiling up inside her. The changeling bowed to her queen respectfully. "What are we to do of this, my queen?" the changeling asked. Chrysalis looked off towards the edge of the forest as she pointed her hoof. "The small town, Ponyville, is not far from here," the queen explained. "We will go and ravage the town. We may have lost Canterlot, but we will not stop there. We will take their humble village instead." The changelings all buzzed and cheered at the queen's words. The changeling found herself watching the terrible scene unfold in front of her. Lightning was striking everywhere from one source, a single dark blue Pegasus with oddly shaped wings. He used the thunderclouds above other Pegasi gathered together to fight the changelings. A stray bolt flew in one of the changeling's direction and struck her on the side, sending her flying back into the forest. She collided with a tree and fell to the ground, a long cut running down her side, and she was bruised, sore, and weak. She looked up from her spot and saw her comrades being chased away by the Stormbringer as he cast more bolts of lightning. The majority of them were directed to the queen. She tried to get up to help her queen, but it was useless. She was used up from the magical energy field that blasted her and her fellow changelings away from Canterlot Castle. Most of her fellow changelings were killed, injured, or chased off by the Stormbringer. They had faced many times before over the years, and soon enough the forest was devoid of all other changelings and ponies, leaving only the sound of leaves rustling in the wind and forest animals braving to come out of their hiding places. The changeling closed her eyes and tried to reach out with what magic she had left to find the queen. "My queen!" she called out with her mind, but there was no response. "Queen Chrysalis!" she called again. Still nothing. Hours later she was alone, lost in this God's forsaken forest, with no one to feed love off of. She lay on the ground in a bush near the tree she had crashed into, her head on her hooves. She knew this was the end for her. She had no strength left to change to a pony if one were to happen upon her and find a way to feed off their love, and none of the changelings were coming back after today. She was done for. That concludes the prologue.